Money is energetically the most renewable thing that we have in our lives. We can renew it. We can regenerate it. We can declare bankruptcy. We can start over again. It's one of those things that you can hit the reset button on and over again. But what you cannot hit the reset button on most of the time is your health and with your time. So stop lying to yourself that it's the money. Because if you don't invest in yourself in some way, shape, or form now, you're going to be in a whole lot more pain in 20 years.
Welcome to Boss Bitch Radio. If you are new here, this is going to be a great episode talking about all things finances. Now, working with women for 20 years now, just in the health and fitness space, it has been a remarkable journey in seeing how many things come up as barriers to women in their financial journey and also in their fitness journey. And something that's been coming up a lot lately is women who are in a different phase of their life and maybe facing things like divorce or children leaving the home or making big, different career changes. And so with a lot of these big changes that come up, one big roadblock tends to be finances. And so on today's episode, I brought on a fun guest. She was the sweetest. Her name is Lisa Chastain, and she's a financial expert. She's also an author. She's a coach, and she helps women specifically transform their relationships with money. And today's episode, what we got into was a little bit about her story. She talked about how she grew up in a very blue collar family in Las Vegas, followed the traditional life script, and then realized she was in a loveless marriage and needed a change. And that started her journey into what she now does in working with women around money mindset issues. She talks a lot about self-limiting beliefs. We talked about an alternative to traditional budgeting, which you'll want to stick around to the very end because we'll talk about a different way you can go about thinking with your money and how to really use it in a way that works for you. And we talked about some controversial things too, which I'm not going to spoil. You're just going to have to take a listen. And you'll want to listen and hear her talk about the event that she is leading on October the 9th. It's part of a national movement featuring some very powerful women leaders. So I'm going to let you into the episode. I can't wait for you to meet Lisa. And stick around to the end. Head over to Instagram if you haven't already. Give her a follow and enjoy the episode.
Well, how about we just jump in and you share with us a little bit of your backstory because it's a unique one, right? You have some history with, your own personal, your own debts and things like that. So I thought it was incredible to just bring you on and share that and really how you came to where you're at right now, where you're really helping women in budgeting, finance, and all that fun stuff as they're approaching any stage of their life, really.
Yeah, any stage of life. And I'm 46 and I have a lot of people in the world.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who are in our 40s. I have clients that come to me before they're 30 going, okay, what's this next chapter going to be about? I'm really passionate about working with women in midlife because we have huge awakenings in midlife, just like I did. So my backstory is I'm born and raised in Las Vegas. My dad's a stagehand. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So I'm a blue collar girl. I went to Cheyenne High School out in the Northwest. It was dirt roads all around growing up. We just lived kind of this bumpkin life, but it was a happy life. My needs were met, but we weren't taught to think outside of where we were. We weren't taught to dream big. It wasn't that kind of conversation. But in high school, I really started to flourish and I really started to dream big. And my parents were like, no, we don't have the money for that. No, you're not going to the college that you want to go to. We don't have the money for that. So it was those tiny little awakenings I'm 5 foot tall. So a little girl growing up in Las Vegas where I started to realize that there were some limitations in life, but they weren't my limitations. They weren't me limiting myself. I never was the kind of person to limit myself, but it was my circumstances, my genealogy, the family conversations that had me in a box. I don't begrudge my parents because of that, but for a long time I did. It's not their fault. Yeah, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
I have such a loving relationship with them today, but it took some hard knocks and hard conversations because I didn't want to live the way that they lived.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I followed the script. I followed the script for a long time. In my high school year, I was student body president. And in the pamphlet that we put together, my dreams were to be a mom of 4.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
But also when you're a dreamer and you're like, there's more for me out there. And I totally resonate 100% with this. I grew up, in the same sort of context. So yeah, this
Did
is a
you?
great story. Yeah. Yeah.
So many women do, and so many women did. And so I had some awakenings. I got married. I got a professional career. I got health insurance. I got a 401k. I had a kid by 28. I bought a house by 24. I did all the right things in my 20s for external validation, to make my parents proud, and just to do what I thought were the right things to do. But fast forward to 36 years old, I'm in a marriage that is loveless. I'm in a marriage with an alcoholic. I don't recognize myself in the world around me. And it was a huge wake up call, I would say, awakening of, this is not who I dreamed I would be by this age in my life. And that's where it all started for me.
Wow. It's such an incredible journey when we start from our childhood and we're told these stories, and we think, I always had this sort of belief. I know my parents are struggling. I'd seen them go through things like bankruptcy, and, they went through their own divorce and things. And then I had a very sort of tumultuous start to my adult life. I got pregnant at 16. I had 2 kids by the time I was 19. And I just always knew that was not who I was, right? I knew that was a part of my journey, but it wasn't my destiny. I knew I had a bigger purpose and a bigger calling. I wasn't sure what that was, but I find that now, fast forward all these years, I had to overcome a lot of self-limiting beliefs. I had to do a lot of the inner work. I had to break generational patterns. And my dad still doesn't quite understand what I do to this day. He's like, how do you do this? How do you afford to travel? How do you, right? He's very they're from the Azores Islands. So I'm first generation here. So
Wow.
a very tumultuous upbringing of just trying to figure this all out, right? I had nobody to teach me. But now as I'm working with women, and I talk a little bit about how I've overcome certain financial hurdles, and I'm no expert by any means, but I've had at least 15 years of business coaches at this point that they have their own way of taking us through some sort of financial coaching or advice, right? But what I'm finding now is many women over 40 are in some kind of transition. They're either divorced, they want to get divorced, but they are terrified because they don't know how to take care of themselves financially. They have a career change, they have kids leaving. How do you feel? I mean, what do you think is one of the important factors that we need to consider when we're in this transition and we're just trying to decide, I'm stuck, what do I do next? What would your biggest tip be? I'm sure it's a lot of deep rooted work, but if you had to just give me something, you're like, it's deep. We don't have enough time for that today.
Well, I do trainings and workshops about all of this because we lose our way. And one of the primary reasons that we lose our way is because of money. Because of money, we stay in marriages that we really have no business being in. Because
Most definitely
money,
see that.
We stay in soul-sucking careers. Because of money and fear simultaneously, we don't have the conversations or do the things in our lives that we ultimately want to do or are destined to do. It's because of money or time, but typically money. And so women, we're at this pinnacle point in our history as women on the planet today where we are rising up financially. And we have a learning curve. We have generational patterns and mindset to confront. It's our job. Gen Xers, it's our job. Older millennials, it's our job. We're raising kids. It's our job because there's more money at our fingertips than ever before. So don't let that be the reason anymore. Don't let it be the reason anymore. And the tip that I would have is imagine your life at the end of your life. What is it that you will regret the most? And that is your soul's purpose. That is the work that you need to do because the regrets that you have on your deathbed, and nobody's guaranteed tomorrow, are the very same things that you need to get to work doing, but don't let money be the reason that you don't.
Yeah, it's definitely a hurdle that I see over and over again. And like you said, right at the start of that, it's one of the biggest things that stops women from getting out of just loveless, lifeless marriages that they're in. And I mean, I have several friends that I can think of, clients that I've been not necessarily coaching, but I've been trying to give them different perspectives and different tools and things to really consider and they're like, oh, it's easy for you to say. I'm like, I've been a single mom since I was 6, basically since I was 19, and having us just sort of figure it out on my own and knowing that like I would always say, if somebody else is doing it, there's no like reason why I can't. I just have to apply myself.
Yeah.
Right? Someone else has done it for sure.
Money is just a really interesting thing, though, because if you're listening to other people and getting advice, I wrote my new book. I have it right here. It's Stop Budgeting, Start Living.
Yes, which I want to talk about.
I did that very intentionally, the title of it. And I was like, I don't really care if it resonates with anyone. But the reason I wrote it, the title specifically, is that's been given to us as like the thing that we have to do in order to get our shit together financially. And I would say it's quite the opposite. It's budgeting that's an old paradigm that's kept us stuck in loveless marriages and kept us controlled for so long.
Say more about that. That's so juicy.
Yeah. If we look back at the history of women in America, this is, it doesn't apply to every single woman in America, but if overall we look at the history of women in America, we didn't have rights to have our own money 100 years ago. And so I have a whole podcast episode on this. If we look back even like those 100 years, that's my grandmother's when she was being raised in the world. So she was being raised in a world literally that she didn't have rights to own her own money. Okay. So that's generationally. Well, if they didn't have rights to own their own money, what did they do with the money? Because it wasn't theirs. And so generationally, we're a group of women who our mothers and our grandmothers and our great grandmothers did not own the money. So they were left to budget. It was a male construct. They had to, because the guy said, here, this is all you get.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
100% clear as day.
You have $100 and that's all you have. Make it work. You have it for groceries. You have it for the kids. You have it for clothes. And then the guy, he could do whatever he wanted with the rest. And we still see this happening. We still see this happening in marriages.
Oh, yeah.
This is how it's supposed to be. Bullshit. Right. I'm calling bullshit on it.
I call bullshit right along with you. Have you happened to read that book, Die with Zero by Bill Perkins? I think I have it here. Really great book. But I mean, there's a lot of really great concepts in there. But when I saw the title of your book, I thought this sounds along the lines of Bill Perkins, just his theories. So when you say stop budgeting, start living, what is the premise that you're usually giving women to kind of lead their finances with?
There are way more effective ways to manage our money. And also, if we talk about cash flow specifically, what I have found in my world is that I have clients who come to me with a budget, but they don't use it.
Oh, for sure. I see it time and time again too.
That you allocate X amount and no one ever really follows the budget. And so if you're not going to follow the budget, stop lying to yourself about it and just learn how to manage cash flow in a different way, because there's a totally different way that you can do it. More simply, in my world, if you put money in different accounts for different purposes, this is how millionaires do it. Money in a spending account, give yourself permission to spend that money for whatever.
Right.
It changes the neurology of money. It changes the way that you feel about it altogether, because you're giving yourself money to spend versus just trying to hold on to what you have. So the way that we look at money, the way that we envision money, the way that we manage money, the way that we game plan money has everything to do with where we're going in life. So rather than looking back in the rearview mirror, trying to reconcile a budget, let's do some cash flow planning and game planning. I just had a conversation with a client about this today. I was like, listen, you're making like $3,000 a month in your W-2. Could you buy some real estate and create some cash flow in some real estate properties and leave your job and replace your income? And she looked at me like, I would love that. I would love that. So just break the box that you're living in, break it open and think about, could I create cash flow in other ways? And that's exactly what I've been doing in my business, reinvesting in my business, because my business will be the cash flow for me. My business will be the wealth generator for me. How are we building wealth as women today? It's through building businesses.
Okay, this is amazing. Yeah, we'll link up everything in the show notes as well. And we'll link up that last episode that you mentioned too. One thing, and we're talking about investing, one thing I see is a lot of women struggle with investing in themselves, right?
Yeah.
We have like traditional forms of investment, obviously, but investing in themselves, whether that's continuing education or taking courses that are going to, increase their salary or start a business, and they have no problem shelling out thousands of dollars for their children to play in extracurricular activities and do all these, soccer camps and this and that, right? I see this often. And then when it's time to invest in themselves, whether that's again, any of these traditional forms, or even investing in their health, right? Hiring somebody to help them get healthy and take care of themselves. It is such a battle. It is such a battle. Why do you think that is?
Scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
Scarcity. If I don't invest in my child, he or she may not have the opportunities that I didn't have. And all of that investment in club soccer, club teams, all of that is in some ways someone trying to hack their way into. If you look at how kids make their way into the NFL, you're trying to hack your way into another life, perhaps. Or this is just what we do. This is what affluent people do. This is what we do. But I've seen so many families behind the scenes going into debt and putting themselves in a lot of pain to get their kids to private school and through private school. And having worked in higher education, it doesn't work that way anymore. You don't just put somebody into an Ivy League school and then boom, their life is better. But here's what I'll say to the parent who keeps investing in their kids over themselves. The single most damaging thing that you can do to your kids is not live your own dreams.
Mic drop.
And not take care of yourself. Why is that? Because your kids are mirroring you as a parent. Unconsciously, that becomes their unconscious wiring. They see you taking care of yourself or not taking care of yourself. They see you investing in yourself or not investing in yourself. That is the behavior that they are more likely to continue in their adulthood than you investing in their sports. So be mindful of that.
That's so good. You said that so beautiful. You said that way better than I could have said it, Lisa. So I love that. So good. Such a great message. Now, when it comes to feeling like 40s, we're over 40, it's too late, right? I hear that often from women. It's like, oh, it's too late. I haven't done anything. I have a client that, she's an esthetician. She works for herself, hasn't invested at all. Now she's finding herself in the middle of a divorce with nothing, right? When people say it's too late for them to change their story or their path, what do you say to them?
I tend to be pretty interruptive when I have permission with my clients. So let me just, if I was speaking to a client, bullshit, you're just scared.
Okay.
It's
just how we roll here. It's totally fine, Lisa.
Okay, good. You're just scared.
Yeah.
You're scared of the unknown. You're scared of success. You're scared of failure. You're scared. I get it. And I look at all the historical people and historical women who started over at our age and who created something. It's actually women in midlife that create the most.
I would believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Louise Hay House was 60 when she started Hay House. 60 years old, right? Even Mel Robbins, who's one of the thought leaders right now in personal development, she was in her 40s when she started over and built this mega empire that she's in. So who was it? Maya Angelou got her PhD, I think, later in life in her 70s, I want to say. So no, it's not too late. You're just getting started. And I always relate this back to money because this is what I do in the world of money. Millionaires gain and lose their fortune on an average of 3 times before they make it, which means someone made $1 million, lost $1 million, made $1 million, lost $1 million. Money is energetically the most renewable thing that we have in our lives. We can renew it. We can regenerate it. We can declare bankruptcy. We can start over again. It's one of those things that you can hit the reset button on and over again. But what you cannot hit the reset button on most of the time is your health and with your time. So stop lying to yourself that it's the money. Because if you don't invest in yourself in some way, shape, or form now, you're going to be in a whole lot more pain in 20 years.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So let's shift gears a little bit. When we talk about those that have self-limiting beliefs around money, right? They're doing all the things and just nothing's happening, right? Nothing's happening. I know you have experience and expertise in NLP. Do you bring this in at all when you see clients that are just stuck in this negative money mindset spiral?
Absolutely. Well, it's 95%. I don't know if you know this or not, but 95% of the work that we do in our lives is in the unconscious mind. On a daily basis, it's in the unconscious mind, which means so are your beliefs when it comes to money. And so we do need to get under the surface to understand what are the beliefs that have the strongest hold on you right now? What are the ones that have the strongest grip? And let's do some work around those beliefs. It's just not as simple as manifesting. It's just not as simple as positive affirmations. It does take work and intention. And the same person that created the problem cannot fix the problem. And so we try to sometimes hide out by reading books and watching podcasts. And I do believe that the internal work is necessary. I have great questions in my book, but by working with a coach or even with a friend who knows how to support you and asking the right questions, it's going to take you getting outside of yourself to actually have some of the transformation occur, because you need some neurological shifts that you yourself are not capable of doing on your own.
How long does something like that take? Is this like a process? She says a lifetime. Bitches, strap in.
Yeah,
We're
lifetime.
gonna be here a minute.
It's layers, and specifically when it comes to money, because making money. Okay, let's say that you leave corporate America and you've got a $300,000 a year salary. You've worked probably 20 years to get there. Yes.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Okay. So then what I realized in my corporate job in my 20s is that I never really learned how to make money. I learned how to work hard and then get compensated through a process by which people were telling me whether or not I was good enough.
Okay.
Yeah. So you work and then you go for your raise, and then maybe you get it, maybe you don't. That doesn't really teach you how to ask for money. And then you jump out into the world of entrepreneurism and you have to go get $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $100,000 that you never learned how to create on your own. Someone else did that work for you. Someone else created a company for you. Well, making six figures, everybody says they want to make six figures as an entrepreneur. Well, you get there, you've had to battle one set of mindset to get there. But to get from $100,000 to $300,000, you're going to have to look at another set of mindsets and beliefs about yourself to get there. And so it's constantly evolving, because the worthiness conversation that you had making $20,000 a year is going to be a whole lot different getting to 100 to 300 to $1 million to however, so we get to, and then if you've never had money in the bank, but then all of a sudden you have $20,000 in the bank, your nervous system is going to react to that. If all you knew how to do was survive, that's your comfort zone. So that's why I say it's never ending. But there's usually one or two major beliefs that you're brought up with, that if you can get a hold of those, you can identify what those are and you can heal those, you can take action as a healed woman. So start with those.
Okay. This is good. It's similar. I mean, as you were speaking, I talk about sort of going through different phases of your life when you're getting back into taking care of yourself, right? A lot of women, they are in this phase of taking care of their kids, and then they come to me and they're like, I haven't been doing anything, help. And so they have to go through sort of different stages, right? Similar to what you were saying. And I always equate it back to, I don't know if you played video games as a child, but like Super Mario Brothers, right?
Me too. I use the same analogy.
I do too. Yeah. I'm like, you're fighting this boss and you have all the tools, and then you fight that boss, but then you got to go to the next level and it's just harder, and you die a lot, and then you get new tools and then you fight, right? But that's how I'm thinking about this as you're speaking to it. It's, what do you think the boss is from like 100 to 300? Is it just depend on the person?
Yeah. Well, if your comfort zone is making $50,000 a year, you got to challenge that comfort zone to get to whatever the next level is. For me, you may not realize, you might think that you've done some work around it to get to the next level, but then something happens. This is where financial sabotage sets in and why people end up losing fortunes. Professional athletes, this happens a lot because their neurology and their mindset is set from a different set point.
Or people who win the lottery.
Absolutely.
Right?
Your set point, your comfort zone is operating without very much at all. And then you get all of this, but you haven't done the maturation or the healing that's required for you to be able to hold literally that amount of wealth, which comes with extra responsibility also.
Yeah.
So you have to train and prime yourself. And it takes time. I had another podcast interview who was on my podcast, and we were talking about what it really takes to grow as a business owner. And these overnight successes don't actually exist.
Yeah.
They really don't. Someone has gone through years and years of back and forward and work to be able to have the success that they have. So there really aren't, in my opinion, there is not such a thing as self-made millionaire, self-made billionaire, because we've all had help along the way.
Yeah.
But your worthiness conversation is going to ramp up and get louder and louder and louder as you make more and more, because it's going to challenge your reality of worthiness. If you don't believe you're worthy and then all of a sudden you have a $3 million business, look out, because that not worthy conversation is going to come for you. So if you don't face it at one level, like you said, that big old monster is going to get a whole lot louder and a whole lot bigger the bigger you get.
And then what do you see at that level when people are not addressing it? Are they just burning through money? Are they losing it? Are they hoarding it? What is it? Just really depend on their monster?
The worst of all possible situations: drugs, alcohol abuse, burnout. People just say, fuck it, I'm out. They let go of all of it. Yeah, you see some major problems at those higher levels because life is really fast when you have a lot of money. And if you don't have a regulated nervous system, you're going to pay the price for that.
Most definitely. And it's not going to be a good price. It's not going to be a good price. Nothing you can pay off with the money you have. That's for sure.
That's true. And if you're running a multi-million-dollar business, you have employees, investors, more people need more things of you. And if you're highly unregulated and those beliefs are in control, you're in trouble.
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Now, circling back to the everyday woman, this will probably be the last question I ask, just to get some good tips and I guess feedback from you. If somebody is not a budgeter, they don't budget and has avoided it their whole life, where should they actually start? Like, what's just like a tactical tool for someone whose budgets scare me, or I do them and I can't stick to them, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's sort of like a step one?
Yeah. So first, stop budgeting. You don't have to, and forget the fact that you have to the rest of your life. You really don't. But the first thing that causes the most amount of pain in our financial lives is by banking out of one account. Most Americans are still living paycheck to paycheck. And the majority of people that come into my world are still banking out of one account, trying to keep track of everything out of one account. Split your money out by purpose. Keep money in your main account, deposit your money into your main account for your bills. Move money that you spend. And actually, for that main bills account, get rid of your debit card connected to that account. Put it away, put it in the safe, put it on ice, literally. Put money in a spending account for spending purposes. In our household, we fund it once a week. Every single Wednesday, money goes into our spending account. My husband has a spending account. We have a household spending account. That's the money that we use for groceries, for entertainment, for clothing purchases. When you can land on a number that works for you, all of a sudden, you have money for bills. You're no longer living paycheck to paycheck. You have money for spending. You see money for spending rather than counting, do I have enough left, or trying to figure out a rigid budget. I have $1,000 a week to spend. Enjoy it.
I love that. And like I was saying earlier, I think one of the many benefits I've had with business coaches and working with a very intelligent bookkeeper and CPA is essentially this, what sounds like
Profit
a similar
first.
process. Yeah, profit first. And it's the same strategy that I use. So I'm doing allocations. It's just me, and I just worry about myself and my two businesses. So I allocate, every 2 weeks and kind of move things around as I do payroll. But it works brilliantly because I have a bucket for this. I have a bucket for fund money, right? Taxes, there's a couple different ways you can go about it. I mean, if you don't have a business, you don't have to get so detailed, but that should sound like a relief for most people. But I think what ties them up or what blocks them is just going and making those accounts, right? And just starting the process. It's super easy, but let automatic transfers be your best friend.
Totally.
Right?
Underneath that, talking about beliefs, is that people don't trust themselves, or they don't trust the other person in the relationship.
Okay.
So that's what's underneath that is, even if I had a spending account, I don't trust that what I put in there, I'll stick to. You have broken word with yourself, which also means that your vision isn't big enough and you're not living according to your values. Because if you have a vision and you understand how your money's working toward your vision and you have priorities of money, those are the fun conversations to have. And then design a system of cash flow that will support you living that way.
So good. Well, did I leave anything out you would like to add to this conversation? We were just doing a fun, quickie little episode, and I'd love for you to plug the event too. But anything you want to add, and then let us know where we can find your books and all the wonderful tools and resources that you have.
Yeah. So what's in my heart to share is that there's this Baha'i prophecy, and the Baha'i prophecy from the Baha'i people say that in this century specifically, in this century, in this 100 years, women are going to rise. And the way that the prophecy explains it is that men have fully expressed their wing. So if you imagine humanity is this beautiful eagle soaring through the earth, and men have fully expressed their wing. The women's side, the feminine side of the bird, the woman's wing has been tucked in. And literally in this prophecy, in the time that we're living today in 2025, we're a quarter of a way through the century. The woman's wing will fully express itself and the eagle will soar. The eagle of humanity will soar. And it's going to take money for women to get there together with men, not against men, but we get to own our power financially. We get to shift the framework from which we're operating. We get to heal our generational wounds, and we get to come together in sisterhood to support humanity in doing the healing that it needs to do right now. And it's going to take us healing our relationship with money to get there.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
I'm so grateful. So yes, so Take the Lead is Thursday, October 9th. It's an actual national movement. I've partnered with Angie Morgan, who's incredible. She's a New York Times bestselling author, former Marine captain.
Wow.
Yes. And she's assembled these powerhouse women who are all having disrupting conversations in our own way. So for me, money, I'm on a mission for women to become the leaders of the world financially. We're talking about that at Take the Lead. We've got other incredible leaders like Jade. I don't know are you in Vegas?
I am.
So Dr. Jade Norris owns Inspire Healthcare. She's a doctor who went concierge health, and we're talking about what's being disrupted in the healthcare industry right now. We've got some incredible leaders in corporate America, all women, coming to talk about what's happening in corporate America. You know, America's going through a lot right now. And as women, we're saying, let's just have this conversation head on. So Take the Lead has happened in 9 cities this year. Vegas is bringing it home. We're the final city. If this is in your heart to come have these conversations with us, join us. If not, we'll be back next year.
Okay, amazing. And that's Thursday the 9th, I think 8:30 to 4.
Yep, 8:30 to 4:30.
Okay, awesome. And then where can people connect with you if they can't make it to the event?
Sure, come hang out with me on Instagram. So it's Savvy Money with Lisa on Instagram. Also, I have the Real Money podcast where I'm having disruptive conversations with some amazing professionals on the podcast. So it's Real Money with Lisa Chastain.
Okay, awesome. And then we'll link up your website as well, too, because I know you have a bunch of awesome resources there, too. So,
yeah.
Well, this was great. Thank you so much for just jumping on and doing this. I know it was super last minute, but I thought it would be really great and timely. We're always talking about fun, different topics, and money is one that comes up quite often. So this will be great for my audience. I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. And we got to get together in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would love that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too.